Hakadosh, Boker Or. I wanted to share with you an incredible Rav Yerucham. Rav Yerucham was actually the mashkiach of whether it's what we know of the Mir and other places as well, an incredible concept in this week's parasha. Last week's parasha, we have the 10 Commandments, correct? Which is basically going to be Aseret Dibrot, Parashat Yitro. And immediately after the 10 Commandments, we have Parashat Mishpatim. Now, the question that we come and we ask ourselves is, why is it that immediately afterwards we have Mishpatim right after Parashat Yitro? What's the connection? Meaning, if I'm going to right now come and tell you, listen, I'm going to give you the climax, right? And it's going to be Kabbalat Torah, receiving of the Torah. What's the first thing that I'm going to mention right after that? So obviously there has to be something there. So he comes and he says like this. He says, Rav Yerucham comes and he tells us he's going to give us the key to the foundation of what it is, Ben Adam lechavero, interpersonal relationships. And listen to what he says. And now I'm going to tell you a very incredible secret which comes out, right, from the Torah, something incredible. And he says like this, just like Torah Ben Adam Makom, just like when we learn and we have things between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Limud Torah is limud yashir me'aborei yitbarach. Meaning when we come and we learn Torah, it's as if that we're learning straight from Hashem. There's a connection between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Torah and the knowledge of Hashem are something which you cannot separate. He says, and if there's no fear, imen ira, and Torah, there's no fear of God, so then there's no Torah as well. He says, Kem amashu v'Torah, right? The same thing applies to Ben Adam lechavero. Limud dinei Ben Adam lechavero is limud Torat chavero. Velimud Torat chavero מבלי ללמוד חברו עצמו איננה תורה כלל. סופו להישאר ריק בלי תורה, עם הארץ ובור גמור. Which means like this. He's coming and saying something incredible. Ben Adam למקום, between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How does it work? It works that when we come and we start learning, we learn HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's as if that we have a connection between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Direct. There's nothing in the middle. The exact same thing he says is Torah Ben Adam lechavero. Torah Ben Adam lechavero means that we come and we connect to our friends, but we have to learn our friends. We cannot fulfill interpersonal relationships. We cannot come and fulfill what it is, the concept of being friendly with one another. If we don't know who they are, we don't know what's going on. We cannot fulfill it. Chazal say, what does that mean? You have to love your friend like yourself. Rabbi Akiva says it's a klal gadol b'Torah. And Ben Azai says, ze sefer tolot adam, ze klal gadol b'Torah. The soda gadol is that in any way a person cannot have Torah Ben Adam lechavero if he does not know who is chavero. And all of Torah Ben Adam lechavero is seder nizikin. It's to do with the parasha of Mishpatim, which is nizikin, damages. Don't damage your friend, and so on and so forth. It's only just to bring a person to chavero. So therefore, immediately at the beginning of Baba Kama that we're learning now in Daf Yomi, before anything, tzarich ha'adam lilmod yashar et chavero. What is a human being? What's an Adam? Right? Ma'u tircha shel Adam. Letzayer b'dato kama, meaning to understand how much a person comes and it's difficult for them to acquire property and to acquire different things, and then you're going to come and you're going to damage it? And therefore, when you come and you actually learn it and you see it, now you know Baba Kama. Meaning the Baba Kama is going to come out that it's actually in essence going to be that you first have to understand what is a human being. How difficult it was for them to work for their parnasah. How difficult it was for them to do all these things. And only afterwards can you come and start learning, by the way, don't damage. Why? Because that's the entire Baba Kama. Because now you understand what it is. If it was so difficult for them to attain it, how are you going to come and be so easy just to come, big deal, damage it. You know how hard he worked to get that? Right? When you're coming and you're learning, right? For example, you want to become an apprentice. You want to do internship. What's internship exactly? They want to learn, for example, to become a doctor. Yeah? So you come and you want to be a student. They teach the students Torah Refuah only on a guf shel Adam shel met. They first come and they teach it on the body of a human being that died. Yeah? And bechol davar, they do it. Bechol she'ela haba perek mistaklim mikodem beoto. So they come and they look at the skeleton. Bechol olkav, and they come And that's how they're going to come and they're going to learn, right, how to fix all the inyanei refuah. And each one understands b'pashtut that in another way, it's impossible to learn, right? Because you need this. And that's the only way in order, if you don't have the practice, so that it's impossible to learn that. How are you going to do it, right? So the first thing is they have to learn what is an Adam, what is a human being. That's what the Torah, the skeleton of what the Torah is coming and explaining to us, that when you do not understand, right, he can explain what it is in Baba Kama then. So when you now come and you have a question and what you're learning and so on and so forth, right, you have to learn in the skeleton. And then you're going to know exactly what's the explanation. And if you don't do that, so you can't learn Torah Adam. The Adam, if he's not going to understand what is a human being, he'll never be able to understand it, right? And that's why you have all this. I'll give you an example. Em kesef talvet ami, says Rav Yerucham, you have to come and you have to lend your friend money. And when you lend him money, make sure, right, you're not allowed to charge him interest. Correct? That's what's brought down. You're not allowed to charge him interest. Rashi says, Hevem mistakel be'atzmecha kilu ata ani. Why does Rashi, what does the Torah say if you're going to lend your friend money, ete'ani imach, the poor person with you? What do you mean with you? What does that mean? Rashi says, when you lend the poor person money, it has to be ki'ilu, that you have to look at yourself that you're poor. Now the question is, why? The mitzvah is in front of you, lend him, and that's it. Why do you have to look at yourself as poor? Just lend him money, and that's it. He says, but rather, that's exactly what we spoke about. Chazal come and they teach us a soda gadol, that if you're going to come and lend money, and you want to be mekayim the mitzvah, right, that the loan is going to be a proper loan, he comes and he says, immediately you have to learn the skeleton. You have to learn what we're talking about, and therefore you have to learn your friend. Learn how to facilitate the loan. How is the most easiest for him to pay back the loan? How is it that's the way to learn. And he comes and he says, how are you going to learn your friend if you don't even know him? Right? Because you never saw him. So then how do you know that he's also a min adam? Right? That he also is hungry, or he's cold, or if it hurts him, or it doesn't hurt him. Maybe it's just a piece of wood. How do you know? So therefore, once you learn your friend, then you're able to come and to do the mitzvah. And therefore, Chazal HaKadoshim teach us, and that's what Rashi is bringing down, Tistakel b'atzmecha, that you're the ani. Look at yourself that you're the poor person. Put yourself in his shoes. And now let's see if when you're going to come, you're going to lend him the money. Because then you could know it, ani chavercha, and that's how you're going to do it properly. When it says, Vayetze lecha v'yar b'sivlota, Moshe Rabbeinu comes, and he goes out, and he wants to see the suffering, right, of his brothers. And it says, right, Amru Chazal, Shaya Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom noten ketefo mesaya lechol echad ve'echad. He was coming and helping out every single person. He was helping them out. Hu yada ki kodem kol tzechim lilmod et hashelet. He knew that before even helping out, I have to see my friend. I have to go out. I have to see what's going on. I have to understand what's happening. And then I'm going to be able to help them. And that's why he was zocheh to the midah nirse be'olim chavero. Only because he went out and he saw it. And he saw what was going on. Okay? And that's exactly what we're trying to do right now. So when we're going to come and make a summary of everything we just learned until now, just like by Ben Adam Lamakom, if there's no Torah, there's no Yirah. Meaning, in the Torah, the only way to know the Torah is only if there's Yirah, if there's fear of God. So to Ben Adam Chavero also, the entire Torah, all of Seder Nezikin is to know your friend. And if there's no Yirah, there's no Torah. When you don't learn your friend, then you don't know what it is, the concept of not damaging. Hashas HaGadol of Chavero is basically the skeleton that we're talking about, is to learn Chaye Adam, right? To learn what it is. What exactly is your friend? What are we trying to do? How are we trying to make life possible for others? Because how could it be that a person will come, right, and he won't understand what it is about the friend? So he comes and he says, Gama rotzeach vaya'ar. Even if a person is going to come and he's going to kill in the desert, in the forest, right? He used to come and say, imagine the Yisurim, right? Imagine what it is, the Yisurim of a person. When they're going to come and they're going to learn Baba Kama, right? When they're going to come and they're going to learn Baba Kama, right? Al derech zeh. Imagine right now he's going to come and he's going to learn whether it's all the different halachot, whether it's the Dainim L'Maaseh, and they're going to come, and they have to learn the skeleton. So that's what Rabbi Salanter used to say. We know that Rabbi Salanter, the Nachala, was actually this past week, okay, the 25th of Shvat. So he comes and he says, so he actually learned, and he was actually teaching somebody, and he said, right, they were talking about is something on Shas. He says, maybe in your Shas it's not there, but in my Shas it's written there. The Shas of the Gaon of Yisrael Salanter was much bigger than our Shas, because together with the Shas, he learned the skeleton. He learned everything, which means that he saw it in it. You remember Yisrael Salanter was somebody that's so incredible that the concept of the learning of the Musar was there, that you were actually able to see it. I'll give you an example. He once went to a shoemaker, somebody that's coming and he's fixing shoes, right? And what happened is that he comes and he asks him, listen, can you please fix my shoes? And it was late. It was, sometimes when they start closing shop, that's it, they're done. So the shoemaker came and he told him, listen, I'm going to tell you something. He says, he says, as long as the candle is still lit, I could still fix your shoes. Rabbi Salanter, he almost fainted. And he went and he said, wow. He said, he just told me that as long as we have a neshama inside of us, we could still fix ourselves. Now, the shoemaker was not talking about a neshama. The shoemaker was talking about shoes. He was talking about the physical candle, not the candle which is Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam. But Rabbi Salanter, the way that he learned, the way that he saw the life, the way that everything was like a book of Musar. And therefore, when you have a simple shoemaker coming, and it could have even been a goy that comes and tells him, as long as the candle is lit, you could fix. He understood that Hashem is speaking to me. And he's giving me a message that as long as we have the neshama inside of us, we're able to fix ourselves. And therefore, his shas was much bigger than our shas. Because maybe by us, we think, it's not written there. But no, because you're not even looking there. You're not understanding. You're not reading, right, the entire concept of what it is, all the footnotes, but you don't have the skeleton. You're missing the main part. And therefore, he comes and he says, when we learned the Baba Kama, we just learned it, right, at Daf Lamed, when it says somebody that wants to be a chassid, he has to be careful to fulfill all the things of Nizikim. He comes and he says, when you learn Nizikim, and you're going to be Mekayem, meaning not damaging other people, and you learn all the different halachot with a skeleton and everything, you have to become a chassid. Because when you come and you see what is a human being, how much he suffered and how much he worked to get to where he was, you're not going to come and damage him, right? How are you going to learn to speak Lashon Hara against him, to cause him to suffer, to embarrass him? So he comes and he says, there's Maaseh Chasidim yoter mi, there's nothing greater than this Milad Nizikim. Chesed, Mishpat v'Chesed, it's all the same thing. It works together. It's all part of the skeleton. So according to this, now it comes out an incredible he'ara. Everybody asks, right? And now which we see that a lot of people are much more careful on Ben Adam L'Makom more than Ben Adam L'Chavero. Meaning a lot of more people are much more careful on things which between us and Hashem, more between us and our friends. And the question is, how could it be? A person comes and he consecrates many hours on Ben Adam L'Makom. You got tefillah, he's running to do tzedakah, he's running to do all different mitzvot, he's ratz, toreach, mishtadel, right? And all these things. Right? And all these things. But he says, right? He says, Mashenken, kol inyane ben adam lechaviro, anything that has to do with ben adam lechaviro, ben adam mizalzelim bahem. They come and they're mizalzel. And be'emet, he says, why? How could it be? But he says, that's the yesod. Sof kol ha'adam hu yodea ma'borei barach yoter ma shu yodea mechaviro. The reason why is because we know much more of Hashem than what we know of our friends. And therefore, we don't want to be we don't want to do something against Hashem. But with our friends, it's much less. And therefore, he comes and he says, a person never came and started thinking about singing praises to their friends like they sing praises to Hashem. And he says, but one second, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Mamlich et chavero kemo shu mamlich et kono. HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he says, you should make your friend the king just like you make me the king. So then all of a sudden, everything would be different to our friends as well. Because if at the end of the day, we're not paying attention to our friends, how can we come and start singing his praises? So therefore, it comes out that what we have to actually come and understand is that to understand the exact opposite. We have to actually start learning who is our friend. And once you learn who's your friend, then you're able to bemet, to respect him, to not to damage him, not to speak lashon hara against him, not to do all the things against all those things. It changes your entire outlook on everything that is life. And I think it's an incredible yesod, an incredible foundation of why it's so important that immediately after Parashat Mishpatim, boom, now you have after the Seret Divrot, 10 Commandments, you have Parashat Mishpatim. All the damages and everything to do with it, and Eved Ivri, and how you're supposed to feel for him, and how you have to let him try to go free, and how you're not to overwork him, and how because you have to feel what is your friend. And that in essence is what we're supposed to learn until now.